Welcome back to another episode of the Conversations with Friends podcast. I'm your host, Bree. And if you're new here, I want you guys to know that my goal and mission here is to build a community where we can have the necessary conversations. And on that note, it is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, y'all. Did y'all know? Because I didn't know. I have a special guest here today who gave me this idea to talk about a very important topic about self-forgiveness and how it impacts your mind and your body. But before we dive deep into the topic, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Hey, Reed. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. My name is Ramesha Nicole. And before I like to give titles, right, because I think we live in a culture and a society where everything is about, your title is tied to your identity.
Mm-hmm.
As I've been purging on my own journey, my name is Ramesha Nicole. And first and foremost, I'm a daughter of God.
No, that's right.
I'm a daughter of the King. But aside of all of that, I'm an author and a speaker as well as a podcast host. I'm the host of Coffee and Conversations with Ramesha Nicole podcast, which is the place where coffee and forgiveness collide. And again, thank you, Bree, for having me.
Girl, thank you for bringing this to my attention for us to talk about.
Yeah.
I think it's so important, for sure, especially for us women and minorities. It's important. But before we get to talking about the serious things, I like to do an icebreaker. It's like a this or that, like rapid fire type of thing. So we're going to get that started.
Okay.
All right. First one is girls trip or vacation?
Currently, I would say girls trip.
Yeah. If you had a man,
girl,
would you rather a couples over a girls trip?
Yes, I would like a couples thing. That's kind of one of my actual goals and dreams and desires to have all my friends and all their booze and these cute cabins and these cute PJs.
Right, go on cute trips together. That's what I want to do too, child.
Yes.
I'm just still praying.
Yes, we coming, child. Thank the Lord. We thank
you in advance. Okay, next one: chocolate or vanilla?
Definitely chocolate.
Chocolate. Okay.
Yes.
So when I'm asked that question, I say chocolate because, come on, we chocolate, we brown, Listen. It's beautiful, But for taste-wise, I don't like chocolate cake.
No?
No, I'm a vanilla cake type of girl.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in terms of desserts. Okay, so let me just tell you, okay? Growing up, we were able to eat all the things, right? I don't know if your granny was in the kitchen. She'd be like, okay, y'all, bacon, the bowl was ready and you could lick the bowl.
My mama.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can't do that anymore because my body has changed and I am now gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free.
Wow.
So I cannot have all of that. So in terms of desserts, I have to be very cognizant because a lot of stuff carries stuff in it, just my body just doesn't respond. But I have found different places here in the city that, give me that craving of the chocolate and, all of that. But I don't like the vanilla.
You don't like the vanilla?
I haven't found a vanilla that I like that's on this side of the dietary.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Well, I know you don't drink anymore, so I guess I could skip over this.
No.
Ask you red wine or white
wine? Because here's the thing: red wine and dark chocolate and strawberries
I heard that's it.
A
killer combination.
Listen, a good Malbec. Listen, Brie, that has a deep, dark chocolate base and a blueberry.
You like that?
I do.
Brunch or dinner?
Currently, are we talking about today or just overall, Brie?
Take it how you want to.
Okay, so I would say dinner because the other day I went to the library and I found this plant-based book because I'm doing 40 days of plant-based. And so I'm experimenting different types of meals. So right now I would say dinner. Because I want to try all the things in the book.
I'm scared. I am, girl. I'll be over here thinking plant-based sounds like the perfect thing to do, right? Health-wise, but what is it going to taste like?
I had my reservations in the beginning too. But if you go and you find people who've done it versus trying it on your own, I think that's what's kind of helped it.
Okay.
You do have to, detox your taste buds from what we're used to because it took me a few years to detox.
Maybe that's the problem.
Because our taste buds are so used to something. But it took literally a few months or even a year for me to detox the meat and the gluten and the regular sugar. So Yeah.
Maybe that's why I felt. I went, years ago. I feel like things have changed too. We have so many new ways of people know how to approach. I was vegan for like 30 days.
Okay.
And I was buying like the alternative meats and the cheeses and stuff. And I'm like, none of this tastes good.
Yeah.
But I stuck with it because I set a goal to do it for 30 days.
Yeah.
And I said if I could get with it, I would do longer, but my goal was 30 days. But I remember back then, this was probably like 2015, and I just remember it was not good.
Yeah, because we didn't have as many options then.
Right, and I see now it's a lot of options now, and I'm like, well, that sounds like people be making chicken and all type of things that looks like it's real meat, but it's not. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can try that.
Yes,
but does it really taste like chicken?
Just give it another try.
We're gonna see. I'm gonna try it out. Fancy or casual?
Fancy, as I am dressed.
Real cute
today. Yeah.
Beach or pool?
Definitely the beach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Me too.
Yes. Last year I went to Mexico for 38 days.
Oh, not 38.
I did. I took a sabbatical.
No. I'm jealous.
I had to shut down the former brand and business and get clear.
I know that's right.
And spent time away.
That's a dream of mine to be able to, because I go on vacations a lot, but when I go on the vacations, I'll meet people there. And I'm like, how long have you been here? And they was like, oh, this is like my second week. I'll be here for like another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm like... that's my dream.
Yes.
That's my dream.
And it's going to come.
Right.
It's gonna come.
I said I want to get to the place, hopefully next year, God. I want to get to the place where I can take like a January off every year.
I love
like
that.
The whole January and like just reset.
Yeah.
Because like with my occupation too, with doing hair, it'd be so busy during those holiday seasons. And then January, it slows down for a little bit right after the holidays. And I'm like, that'll be the perfect time for me to just...
Yeah, like a woosah.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that idea. You know what, Lord? We thank you.
Okay. We speak it into existence. We decree and declare.
That's it.
Okay.
Bring you all, Larry.
I'm serious. Summer or winter?
Currently, because I don't like to sweat. I love the summer. I love the summer, but I don't like to sweat because I like to be outside. I love the sun.
Do you?
I do.
Just don't like what comes.
I don't. If you would have put spring on there, I would have said spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny. I just told somebody that today. The reason I never liked the outdoors.
Okay.
I never played outside as a kid. If I did, it was like I was forced to go outside, maybe, and didn't like it. And once people realize that that's not my thing, I go back inside. But my reason was because I didn't never like to sweat. And then you got to worry about the bugs and stuff. And
there's bug repellents.
Yeah. But no.
If it's by a beach or if it's in the nature, like I like nature.
Yeah.
So, and I know that in Houston we have like little small pockets of places that you can go. Or if I've gone somewhere, I always find a place that has a park.
Yeah.
With lots of trees or that's by some water. So, yeah. That's my outside.
My outside would be the beach. Not the park. Because that's the only thing that I really enjoy sitting outside and doing is just like being on the beach.
Yeah.
In the water.
Yeah.
That's my happy place.
I journal a lot there. Like I'll sit outside and read my Bible or I'll journal and like that's like my time. I feel like for me specifically, I know we can't put God in a box, right? But for me, I know that when I really need to get away from the noise, it seems as if he always leads me somewhere that's outside. So that's away from everything. Yeah. Yes, you have your prayer closet in your house. Yeah, you have your room. But sometimes even in the home, it can bring distraction. So I just know for me that's where I find my
and we all have our place. That's great. That's great. Hotel or Airbnb?
That's hard. I'm going to say hotel.
Yeah.
I like Airbnb because you can have your option to make it like your own home. But I'm a hotel girl.
Yeah. I when Airbnb first came out, I thought it was a brilliant idea. And it was like cheaper, you get more space. And, I thought that was real cute for a while. But then as I get older, I'm like, hotel me all day because I want to be able to call somebody and they come do some things for me. Carry my things in, like send me some food,
Yes.
I want to be able to do all of that, like the concierge service.
Yes. Come on, Brie. I'm here for it all day.
Yes. So would you rather be the host of the party or a guest at a party?
Recently I was the host of a party. I just want to be the guest because I don't want to do the work. However, if I am the host, I want to have someone to do that part for me. So I can be the host, but I need someone to do that part.
It actually for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I'll be the guest.
Okay.
I'll be the guest.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Go out or stay in.
I want to go outside.
Yeah,
I want to be outside.
You like the outdoors.
I want to be outside. The other day, my brother and I, we were driving. We were coming into the city, and I was screaming out the window, "I'm outside, y'all!" He was just laughing. I was like, I just
screaming out the window like you in the country somewhere.
Yes. Outside.
Okay. Road trip, or would you rather fly?
I would say fly. I used to want to be a flight attendant.
Really?
I did. I
tried to do that once. They didn't hire me.
No? You have the personality for it, though.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. So when they didn't hire me, I was like, okay, God, this I'm just not supposed to go down that route.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy? When I applied for that job, I was already doing hair, but it was in a point where I had said to myself that I wanted my mom and my siblings lived in Louisiana.
Okay.
And so I wanted my kid to grow up around my family. Okay. And so I was like, let me go try to move to Baton Rouge and be with my family. But I found it like so slow. I was so used to Houston, and Baton Rouge was so slow. And then I was doing hair out there, but the people out there didn't pay as much as what they pay here in Houston. And because they can go to somebody else that's charging way less than what I'm charging. And I was like, well, let me try to be a flight attendant. And then maybe I can build up my clientele there and they'll like match out. But I went through the whole process. They had to fly me somewhere to do a second interview or a third interview. Okay. Went through the whole process, went to their headquarters and everything, and then I just didn't get the job. But I felt like it was all in God's plan, and it was a sign for me to really. I ended up moving back to Houston right after that, and my clientele just
it boomed from there.
Yes.
Wow.
Because it was just like, okay, you make more money in Houston. You and your son are happier in Houston. I felt like I kind of had, although my siblings were still young and in school.
Okay.
So they can't be of much help. I felt, although I had my siblings and my mom there, I felt like I had more help in Houston, like more people that I can call and say, hey, can you come pick up my kid? Yeah. Can you, watch my kid real quick? Yeah. So it just made more sense. I just feel like I wasn't supposed to be a flight attendant.
That's it. I actually applied and I got hired, but it was because I was trying to run from education. Got hired by 2 different airlines at 2 separate times.
Really?
And so went through the process, same thing, had the interview, first interview, second interview, they fly you again, to their headquarters. One was here. And each time I just didn't feel settled, Yeah. And I realized that I was trying to run away from my gift, one of my gifts. Full time, I'm an elementary school counselor. Okay. So I work in the school system as well as building my brain on the side. But I just was like, I need a break from these people and these kids. Yeah. And, sometimes what we want necessarily isn't what God wants for us. Exactly. And so I just realized that I was running and it was like, okay, you're going to go back. You about to go right back. But then that's when I ended up, like you said, maybe about a year after that, I ended up getting a school counseling job. So
it's so good that you listened to the feeling that you were having.
Because I was about to go travel the world. Okay. Do you hear me?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
So this is the last. Well, actually, I got two more.
Okay.
Talk or text?
It depends on my mood.
Really? Yeah.
Some days I don't want to be bothered. But let me rephrase that. Some days I am working on protecting my peace and my energy. Yes. But I am a conversationalist. I like to talk to people because text can be miscruited. Yes, you can think that I'm saying it one way. And I think that we've kind of gotten away from having those conversations. I actually was listening to the radio about how Gen Zers aren't having conversations, or us 2 millennials, like little text over talk, and how one of them said that they broke up with a partner over text versus in person. So I think it just has been minimizing our communication skills. But all in all, I'll do both, but I would rather talk to you on the phone or FaceTime.
Yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with FaceTime. I like it, but I just don't like people to FaceTime me out the blue.
I only do that with my family.
Yeah.
Like strangers, no, I dare you.
Mm-hmm.
I double dog, triple dog dare you.
Even like friends or like if I'm dating, like I just feel like just call me first.
Right, and see if
then,
I'm okay.
Yeah,
like, what if I'm not together?
Right, I don't want you to see me. Let me be ugly in peace. That's how I be feeling. I don't want you to see what I'm doing. Like, okay, you're going to look at the ceiling. I'll do the answer the phone and put it down.
My niece does that. And I'm like, Toots, Nanny's still here. She's like, I hear you. I'm doing something. I'm like, okay, call me back.
Right. So this is the last one.
Okay.
Would you rather win the lottery or find your soulmate?
I would rather my soulmate find me.
I know that's right. Mm-hmm. Me as well.
Mm-hmm. He's coming.
Mm-hmm. He's coming. Yes. So we're going to go ahead and get deep into these topics. But I want to first start off, well, y'all know you told me that you are an elementary school counselor.
Yes.
I think this year, I feel like my kids were in Humble ISD.
Okay.
And I feel like they really took a serious initiative to really hone in on actually counseling the kids and checking into their mental health.
Yes.
I don't remember that being done with me when I was growing up in school.
Yes.
It was not really like it was more so like go talk to your counselor to see what classes you finna take.
That part.
And that's it.
That part.
Is that something that you guys are doing like within
Yes, so within the district that I'm in, because here's the thing, when the pandemic hit, a lot of our babies were impacted.
Okay.
And so I believe that the state has really, now there are different laws and different bills that are in place, but the state has actually honed in and cracked down on counselors actually counseling.
Okay.
Because you have in that little job description, you know how when we read, you look at the job description and then at the bottom it says other duties as assigned.
Yeah.
What they were noticing is that, because we have to do what's called like a tracker, and we were keeping data, and the data was showing that we were doing things other than counseling.
Yeah.
Rather, it was, roles where someone else should have been hired for that position. So I can say that we are noticing that there's a significant difference in us actually counseling these kids, because our babies, man, these kids come to school with so much.
So much. They hold on to so much. And then people like to say a lot that these kids these days are affected by things so much more. And they say it in a negative way, which I know that it can be negative. They're holding on to, negative things. But at the same time, I feel like allowing our kids to actually feel and acknowledge their feelings, and work through them and everything is liberating. It's everything, because when we were younger, I don't know if you grew up like this, but I felt like it was more so like our parents' generation would just kind of, for lack of better words, like shut you up, like, or stuff those feelings back down. You ain't got no room for your feelings, So
Correct.
It's good to see that that a lot of us are allowing our kids to feel.
Feel your feelings. However, don't let your feelings rule you.
Yes, control you.
Right?
For sure.
Right. And so it's all about teaching that it's those social and emotional skills, which I'm not going to say that we lacked those, but we lacked social and emotional skills.
Yeah.
We lacked emotional stability. We lacked emotional intelligence, right? Which is why I believe it negatively impacted our mental health the way that it did. Because now, and mental health, everyone is, granted permission to have, not permission, but we are all striving for mental health and mental well-being. There's a difference between mental health and mental illnesses. Our goal is for us to all have mental health and wealth. It's just when we aren't taught those skills, we press trauma in, we hold things in, then it turns into mental illnesses. So I'm glad that we're doing that with our kids.
Yes, for sure. Because I feel like the mental health, a lot of people also too say now that they tired of hearing about this conversation with mental health, and all right, just go ahead and fix yourself already instead of talking about it over and over again. But I think that it's a conversation that needs to go on like forever. Forever. Because life constantly happens.
And that's what I always like. I tell people who are against therapy, right? I'm not going to go talk to anyone about my problems. Well, that's the reason why you are still operating the way that you're operating, because you are basically saying that you don't need help. And to me, that's a spirit of pride. I don't look at going to therapy or going to counseling as something is wrong with me. I look at it as my car needs to be serviced.
Yes.
I need an air filter. My tires need to be rotated. In order for me to properly function, there are things that I'm going to continue to have to work through, because even in the Bible, if we go scripture, it says you go from glory to glory. You may have the capacity to deal with something when you are 9 right now. And then once you work through that, you may not, you may have not had the capacity to deal with that 3 years ago. Right. So as you heal, you evolve. And so it's a constant journey. And so I'm here for it. I think we need to continue to talk about it. I think we still need to continue to work through, like peeling back those layers so that we can fully be well, fully be whole. So,
and it's like, just like you said, we tune up the body. You got to tune up your mind too. Like, that's the most important thing that I want to keep on, right?
Right.
For real. Because if you lose your mind, like, everything else goes.
Listen, I was listening to something the other day. I can't remember what it was, but they were kind of talking about the brain. So it's like you have the brain. The brain you can physically touch, but the mind is unseen. Something that is not seen has that much power.
Right.
Which is why we have to control our thoughts, which is why we have to control our minds. Listen, I'm not perfect. I'm not sitting up here like I'm perfect, Patty.
Yeah.
Child, because I mean, and I'm sure we'll talk about that, but in 2020, I went through a very low season where I actually almost committed suicide.
Wow.
And so we have to make sure that those thoughts are being controlled and that we are taking power over all the stuff that tells us that we are what's not true, basically.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank God for keeping you.
Ooh,
okay.
Thank you.
Okay. What made you choose your profession?
If I can be quite frank, I've always known that I had a gifting for kids.
Okay.
Growing up, I was like the family babysitter. Like, I always knew I wanted to, be a teacher. My dad worked in education. For 30 years, he worked for one district. And he, did different several jobs. So in the summertime, when they would close the school down and they would go and, clean out the building, I would go with him. And like the teachers would have like those old kits. And so I would have the transparencies and hung up on my blinds. I would have my teddy bears as my students. So I just knew that I always wanted to work with kids. Now, I did want to be a pediatrician at some point as well. But I knew that there was something with kids. But the person who really inspired me the most was my second grade teacher, the late Miss Sharon Lane. She passed away my first year as a school counselor. But yeah.
Wow. I give kudos to people who teach and deal with like children in that capacity every day, because that takes a great deal of patience. I feel like you shouldn't be doing unless it comes from a place of passion and purpose, because you are handling like our future and delicate little beings.
Yes, they are. Thank you for saying that word. They really are. But I won't do high school. I tell you that.
Oh yeah, because
you see how my whole tone changed? That I won't do. I will not do high school because I want
they
to
would
keep
try
my
you another way.
I do.
Because baby, I got a 14-year-old right now. He's gonna be 15, and it's just some new testosterone that's coming along.
Yeah, you're finding out who you are. You're developing, even in 7th grade. Now, I did 7th grade for a year. I've always only done elementary, but one year I did an interim school counselor position for a 7th grade counselor. Girl, them 7th graders, this is how I saw them. They are still kids. They still want to be loved.
Yeah.
They still want to be seen. They still want to be heard, but they want to have that independence. It's kind of like I'm teetering the line on if I want to still be a baby or if I want to grow up.
Right.
So I just realized that they were just like my 2nd graders, but in bigger bodies.
That's funny.
7th graders are 2nd graders in bigger bodies. That's it. That is all.
Woo, child. So how do you think, on the lines of mental health awareness, how do you think that us as minorities are affected with like mental health crises? Like, are we affected more compared to like our counterparts, or how do you think that balance is?
I think that we are affected more because you have to factor in history. You have to factor in family and cultural dynamics.
Yeah.
right? And as you just mentioned it, growing up, we were taught, and I know it's like that in other cultures for minorities as well. If I can even just share a story, there was a student I had, and her mom was like, and I understand the spiritual aspect of it as well. She was like, but I'm not taking, she was of a Hispanic descent, and her mom was like, I'm not taking her to counseling. She's not going. You know? And so it's just, I think it's a negative connotation that cultures are still trying to wrap their minds around, that this is a benefit. I also see the fear behind it, you know, specifically in the education component. But yeah, I think that we are still affected more because of culture, expectations from society, expectations from family. You know, it's just
labels being put
labels.
on you.
It's a lot of dynamics that I believe personally that we as minorities are still impacted more than our counterparts.
Yeah. Because, I mean, for the longest, a lot of Black people felt like, oh, I'm not going to counseling or therapy because that's gonna be, ain't nothing wrong with me.
Right. Right.
I remember talking to my dad, asking him if he would do therapy with me and my siblings, and he was like, I don't need it, but I mean, if y'all want me to go, I'll go with y'all, but I don't need to be there. I don't need it. And I'm like, you why just think you so perfect.
Why do you think we're going?
Right. Hello.
Hello. Listen.
But a lot of people think in their mind, like, it means like something's wrong. And I would hope and pray that as time goes by, we can come, like, it keeps pushing forward. Like, we keep getting better, and, you know, we're able to just say, okay, it's okay. Like, I feel like it's okay for you to go to therapy if you feeling like your best self.
Correct.
You know?
Correct. I even have so I was in the speaker program, and my coach, you know, she would always say, you will only rise to the level in which you're willing to heal. You know? And so feeling like you don't have the need to go where your family's going to be infected. And I think about, you know, us not dealing with those things as an infection. It only continues to linger and get worse and worse and worse.
And then you keep passing it down.
And then you keep passing it down. But even like you said, even if I am doing well, okay, how do I stay here? How do I maintain this so that way when something does happen and I get back to, I'm not going to say if, but when, because life is going to happen. If something happens, how am I going to respond differently this time from this version versus the version of myself than I was before?
Like, what tools do you have in your belt to fix, you know, what's going on right now? You would rather have that than I be scrambling around trying to figure out how to fix the situation. But yeah, I'm definitely a proactive person versus like reactive. So I feel like if we can work on it, why not?
I'm still learning how to balance.
Yeah.
Being proactive over reactive, you know? I'm in this still learning emotional stability phase, okay?
Yeah.
So
for some reason, I've always been like a thinker. Like, I process things before I react to anything, and I've been like this all of my life.
Girl, but help me.
Girl, I kind of feel like it's like a I can't think of the word, but I feel like it's from me, how I was raised, like, and knowing that you can't talk about a whole bunch or seeing things happen around you, and you can't really, we don't have room for like your feelings, or so I always would think things through and you know, hold it in and think, and then I would eventually talk about it. But I feel like that's why I am like that now. And it's not that, like, now I don't just hold things in and not talk about it at all. But I think before I say what I have to say, because
I like that.
I don't know. I feel like the first thought is going to be...
It's not going to be very
Nuck
good.
if you buck.
It's like Ramesha. Ramesha Nicole.
Not Ramesha.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
No, but that reminds me of... I have my fellow co-counselor. So I lived abroad for a year. I don't know if you remember, but I lived abroad, and my fellow co-counselor, I remember one time this parent had sent this email. And when you type in all caps...
You're yelling at me.
You're yelling.
You cursing me out, really, is how I take it.
Right. And so I was ready to rebuttal, but I had to practice that. And she was like, let me teach you something. She said, I want to teach you the rule of 12 to 24. When you receive emails like that, wait 12 to 24 hours before you respond.
Girl, that is powerful. Because
I need to practice that in my personal life.
I learned how to do that one day. One day I did that. I was like, you know what? I'm going to come back to this. I know I read it how I read it, and I'm fired up right now.
Yeah.
Let me read it some more and see if I still had that same fire.
Right.
And I didn't have that same fire. I'm like, okay, this is how, because what I was going to say
would have been
Wildfire.
Ramesha.
Yes. Girl, I just but yeah, I think that's something good to have in your tool belt for sure.
The rule of 12 to 24, because she was like, she read it one way, and she was like, okay, we're going to wait on this. We're going to sit and then we'll respond. And so she was able to kind of help me with the wording and then, pick up the phone and schedule a conference with the parent. So,
because the wording is everything. I be seeing those memes going around about like the corporate nice, nasty ways to check people, but still remain like, I can't get fired from my job for saying what I'm saying.
Correct. But with us, it was also culturally, because we lived in a different country and we were at a school where there were so many different cultures. So we had to take into consideration that part. Yeah. Right? Versus, I'm a Black woman, I want to respond this way.
Yeah. Where were you?
I was in Qatar, in Doha.
Okay. Wow.
Qatar.
Wow. How did you enjoy that?
It was one of the best experiences of my life.
Yeah. Did you go over there with someone? Did you know anybody when you went there?
My fellow co-counselor. We went to high school together.
Oh, okay. That's nice. And y'all were able to explore the culture and everything too in the place.
Yes. Yeah. And we traveled to see our forever First Lady, Michelle Obama, to Paris on her becoming tour for spring break. So
that's life.
That is...
Yes.
Lord, we just thank you for opening up international doors for me and Brie, okay?
Amen. Amen. Because I think that's another thing that I think really shapes your mind. When you go abroad and see how others live, it makes you realize that some of this stuff that's going on in America or in Houston, Texas, on your side of Houston, Texas.
On your block.
It's not everything. Like, that doesn't even matter. Like, you got people out here barely can't take baths in their houses,
Right.
And then you worried about having a slab.
Brie, don't make me fall into this thing. I actually made a post like that one time. I was like, so we're too gung-ho on fighting for our hood. Like, get real. Out of your neighborhood, get off your street, get out of your city.
There is more to life.
There is more to life than going to a 9-to-5, than fighting for these things. Even some of the things that we do here in this country. There is so much life out there. It's more that we can be exposed to. And like you said, when you are exposed to things, man, your life is forever changed. Now, I will say this. Classism is real.
Oh, yeah.
Because I live there and because I'm a brown-skinned woman, and it's evident that I am a brown-skinned woman. A lot of our brothers and sisters from the motherland, from Africa, are not treated the same way that we were treated. Because I had a U.S. passport, I was treated different from them. Yeah. With a different level of respect. So it comes with its pros, but there's so much more to life than this.
Which is also why I noticed I became friendly with a lot of Nigerians that live here in Houston. And with getting to know them, I would learn different things about how, like, a lot of Africans don't really like Black. They hold like a chip on their shoulder against American Black people because they feel like we just have it so easy and we get treated, a little, I guess, better, or we have an easy way of living compared to what they've had to overcome to get to the places that they've gotten to.
Yeah.
But that makes sense because what you're saying with how they were treated over there.
The classism. And even, traveling to other parts of Europe, you may be looked at a certain way because you are Black. And even there, it doesn't even matter that you have a U.S. passport. It's because of the color of your skin.
Yeah, I remember when I went to Paris one time, people kept staring at me. And I was like, and then I was like, maybe I had red hair too at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe it's the hair. And then I'm like, oh, it's because you Black and you got this red hair. And like, how dare you? Like, I kept the whole entire time, I'm like, people just keep on staring.
Like, hello. Hi. My name is Brie, and I'm a Black woman.
I talk. I'm not an alien. It's interesting. Yes. It's very interesting. But I do think it's important that we travel.
It is.
To broaden our minds. Because I feel like if you're not exposed to something or educated on something, then the world is just cut off and stagnant right where you are.
Yes, it is.
And you're going to remain complacent. And it's important for us to expose people around us, our children, our families, so that we can all see that it is a bigger, brighter.
Right. And even with food, I love Mediterranean food. I
just fell in love with it.
Ugh. It's the best thing ever.
Just recently,
Yes.
I was like, what are these flavors
Yes.
bursting?
It's like they burst in your mouth.
Yes.
And it's like, where has this been all my life?
Right. I was like, why have I been passing this place up?
All the time. Yeah.
Girl, for real. But I think the other flip side of like traveling abroad too is you also kind of I feel like it humbles you some.
Yes.
Because you're more grateful for what you do have compared to like some of the third world countries that you visit. Like, you know, we go to like beach island towns and a lot of people aren't living great there. And it makes you grateful for what you have and make you know that that thing that you thought was so bad in your life, it ain't even that big.
It's not even as bad as we thought it was. I actually went on a mission trip in 2017. And it was to Lebanon, and we were able to go and minister to a lot of the Syrian refugee families that because of all of the stuff that was taking place. But it humbles you. But just to know that these people like you and I'm talking doctors, I'm talking lawyers, I'm talking teachers, and their families, their lives were just destroyed within a matter of a bomb. Yeah. You know, so it does, it humbles you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then I think it's so profound too when people that do go through like crazy devastation still have such strong faith.
Ooh.
And you are not living the life that they're living. And sometimes we, you know, stray away from our faith. And it's like to see a person that can go through the worst thing to them in life to date and still hold on to their faith is everything. And that's what keeps me going. Because I always think too, I'm like, my life, if I have like some issues going on, I'm like, okay, but it's always somebody else that's doing worse. So thank you, God, for where I am right now, what I do have right now. Right. Instead of focusing on the negative.
Right. And I'm not going to gate what I'm feeling though. Right. I'm going to be honest with the Lord. Because let me tell you, Brie, it's been several times I'm like, this is stupid. Why are we dealing with this, Lord? Okay. But like acknowledging those feelings but not negating, but like you said, just kind of really shifting your perspective on what it is. Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Yes. So how do you, like when you go through things in life, like how do you remain consistent with like giving yourself grace during those like tough times where like you might be like self-doubting or, you know?
You know, it's a constant journey. And I'm so glad that you hit on that self-doubt because that is currently where I am.
Okay.
I always say that the Lord never has me talk about something unless he's either working in me through that currently or we've done that. Just realizing that I don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like, who planted those seeds? It's not so much of me wanting to be perfect. Where did that even come from?
Right.
Like who? Where did that come from? Like,
because I don't see it around me.
Wait. Where did that come from? Who told me that I have to be perfect or that I have to perform? So with the brand and business that I'm building, everything is centered around self-love. So really teaching millennials like you and I, to forgive themselves so that they can have mental and emotional well-being, emotional wholeness. But with that comes with forgiving yourself for not extending grace to yourself. Forgiving yourself for allowing those cognitive distorted thoughts, because in the psychology world, there are 13 cognitive distortions. And it's basically where your brain has been hijacked by some form of trauma. Okay. Right. And so you have like black or white thinking where some people, there is no gray area. Yeah. I'm a black and white person. I'm learning to live in the gray. Yeah. Learning to live in the gray is for me extending grace for myself. But it's like, where was this? And so extending grace to myself by forgiving myself, to tell myself that I don't have to perform. You know, I followed this psychologist on Instagram, and it was like, you can have healthy relationships without overextending yourself. Right?
That is true.
I always thought that in order for me to have healthy relationships or for people to like me, that I had to give. No, it's a two-way street.
That's so where really, I'm in my life.
Yeah. So even extending grace to myself in the form of releasing myself from these unrealistic expectations that I've put on myself, that families put on me, that culture has put on me. And so just realizing that I don't have to have all of that stuff sitting in there. I can release it. But most importantly, forgiving myself for allowing some of the things that I've allowed when I make, mistakes, forgiving myself for making those mistakes. And so, Yeah. I live the brand that I'm building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about your brand that you're building?
Okay, so it's all about, again, just the whole, let me just kind of backtrack. Again, in 2020, I was at one of the lowest moments of my life. And I was diagnosed with anxiety and depressive mood disorder.
Okay.
But what I realized, Bree, because I spent 8 weeks in an intensive therapy program, I left my job. I literally left the middle of the school year and had to go and be enrolled in a program where I had to face my trauma.
Yeah.
Because I'm a firm believer that while I went abroad to Qatar and it was like you're living your best life and you're doing all the things, my bags went with me. The trauma went with me. And so it was at that time where God really began to hit that button. It was like the floodgates open. We're going to start dealing with this stuff.
Yeah.
And so since that journey in 2018, of really allowing God to purge me and pull back the layers and me face some things, I now realize that a lot of that was also tied to unforgiveness.
Yeah.
Forgiving myself for, the financial decisions that I made, forgiving myself for, not wanting to speak up when I was sexually assaulted at a party, forgiving myself for terminating a pregnancy, or forgiving myself for miscarrying when I was 19, right? It's like these things that we hold inside.
Yeah.
And if we don't release those, you're constantly building, and it's like
stacking them upon each other.
You're stacking, and then it begins to explode. Now, I had to learn to forgive other people as well.
Yeah.
But the one person that I'm really learning to forgive and working through is myself.
Yeah.
And so as I'm building that, I've mentioned him several times. I'm a God girl. I'm a Jesus girl. And so the Holy Spirit has really given me this gift to help us, because what he showed me and what he revealed to me was that a lot of us are harboring unforgiveness towards ourselves, and we don't even know it.
Yeah.
And we're thinking that it's something else. I didn't know that unresolved trauma was tied to me having $10,000 worth of credit card debt.
Yeah.
Right? Trauma from, people pleasing, not speaking up, childhood wounds. I didn't realize that when my parents split when I was 4 years old, that I didn't grieve the 4-year-old little girl, right? And she was in control. So it's so much. So in terms of answering your question, the brand that I'm building is based off of my life's experiences, and just really helping people just like myself to be able to release that stuff and not feel like you have to hold on to those things, because if you don't, you're going to find yourself where I was in a bathtub about to just go under. I don't know what was going to happen. I was just going to just go,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think it's so good that you said the part that a lot of us are dealing with that and don't even know it.
We don't even know.
Because, girl, I feel like that's some of the things that you touched on. I feel like that's very much so where I am, where I have been. And it's like, but I'm not a person that think that like, oh, Brianna, you can't do this or you can't get over it. But at the same time, you do. I find how I react to some things, or I find myself being triggered by some things that I once went through and hadn't really dealt with. And it's like a lot of times we try to just like go around and stuff instead of like going through the stuff and really confronting it head on and really dealing with it how you really need to.
It can be scary though, Brie. I'll be honest. I will be honest. Facing myself has been the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. And it is the
hardest thing. Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Because you got to be completely honest with yourself. You have to hold yourself accountable.
Yes.
In order to get to a different place. Because if you don't, that's just like you going to therapy and lying to the therapist.
Okay, so on that note, I had an old friend, and he said to me, he looked me in my face and he said, Ramesha, there are two people that you cannot lie to. He said, you can lie to everybody else. He said, but you can't lie to God. And you dang sure need to stop lying to yourself. You know what I'm saying? So
because how are you going to get to the next level?
If you keep lying about what you're feeling. But again, I didn't know that that's what it was until I had to leave familiar territory, get in a place where it was slower, because living abroad is it's slower. They're not in such of a rat race like we are here. And so it really slowed me down to be able to look and deal with, like you said, why did I respond that way? Why am I triggered by that? And saying, okay, like I'm feeling, and for me, I know when I'm triggered. I know if I'm like dealing with something, it shows up in my body because there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And it basically talks about how unprocessed trauma can show up in your loins. It can show up like even people who have not released, haven't released unforgiveness. A lot of people who are dealing with arrhythmias in their hearts, people who are dealing with high blood pressure in the spirit realm as Christians, we don't understand the magnitude that unforgiveness has in our bodies. And so it shows up everywhere.
Yeah. I heard something just recently that said that a person that is in a place of unforgiveness, like within themselves, could be like the furthest away from true faith.
Ooh.
That's I heard that like a couple of days ago, and I was like, wow. Because if you believe in God, if you have faith, you know that a lot of times the stuff that we are doubting ourselves about, I feel like comes in comparison to other people. And it's like we try to, we don't forgive ourselves, or we're so hard on ourselves for some things because of what we expect ourselves, where we expect ourselves to be, mentally, physically, financially, wherever it
all
is.
The things.
And it's a lot of times in comparison to like where other people are around you, or the age that you're at, what society thinks you should be doing. But they can't judge you. Who are they?
Right. And they're not fighting your battle. They don't know what battles you're fighting either.
Exactly. And it's like only God can judge you. So why am I holding on to this if my belief is in God? When I heard that, I was like, dang, it made me think. I was like,
that just blessed me though, Brie.
That's true.
What am I far away from the faith?
I'm like, well, knock me in my head,
right? No, but it kind of goes back to like, and I'm glad you hit on that. Like one time, and it was brought to me like this. If I say that I love God, but I don't love myself, because unforgiveness, holding on to unforgiveness towards yourself, is not self-love.
Yeah.
The Bible says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, all your strength. And then the second is to love my neighbor as myself. I'm not obeying that commandment.
Yeah.
If I hate myself, because unforgiveness is really a lot of bitterness, resentment, and hate. I mean, if we really want to be honest about it, that's what it is. And so, yeah, that's kind of what the unforgiveness, that's just how it's just always just showing up, and where I am today.
So how did you come out of that place?
So going to the intensive therapy, but not only that, I have a girlfriend. We're girlfriends in ministry, because I don't say that my brain is my business. My brain is my ministry. Yeah. Right. She does one-on-one services for like Christian millennial women, and we were in a clubhouse room together one day. And just to kind of give you just a quick brief synopsis of that, I went through her program and really just learning how to allow the Holy Spirit to kind of tap into some of those things, because you can have counseling, right? So like you talked about the toolkit. I have a suitcase, right? And my suitcase is therapy. And my suitcase is also deliverance and inner healing. Yeah. Lots of journaling, lots of forgiveness therapy. And so with her, I was able to kind of tap into some of those wounds as to why they were the way that they are. And once you have perspective from the spiritual aspects, then you're able to understand why I'm acting that way. But it's been a journey. Definitely talking about it, not running. Yeah. Not running. No longer running. It's some days I want to run. I want to go crawl under the bed and not deal with it.
Right. And I'm pretty sure at a point in time you weren't really just forward with talking about this. Probably.
I wasn't. I was afraid. Yeah. I was afraid to share my story. Yeah. I was afraid of backlash from my family, of saying certain things. Yeah. I was afraid of judgment. Like, oh my God, like, why would she want to do that? Like, what made her think that she wanted to, it was a lot of things that my mind, like your mind gets to, like the song by the Ghetto Boys. My mind started playing tricks on me, and it's like I'm overanalyzing and I'm overthinking, but it is a day-by-day process, believing in God, tapping into the Holy Spirit, going through deliverance, going through therapy. I'm in counseling and I'm in therapy. So counseling through my church with a psychologist. We have a licensed psychologist on staff at our church. Okay. Therapy and then deliverance as well. Yeah, and talking about it. Right.
So I feel like during the pandemic, like the shutdown part of it, for me, I took it as, I felt like God made us stop.
I do too.
and figure some things out, like deal with your things. And I felt like during that time, I was able to really like do some work on myself or start doing the work on myself.
Yeah.
And I would read a lot then. I would journal a lot. I didn't have I had a journal, but I wouldn't consider it like I'm going page for page. I'll like write on something and then just collect them all in the same book. I'll write the thought out that I have at the time or how I'm feeling at the time or whatever, and then just put it in the same place so I could just go back and visit it. And I started reading my Bible more at that time. I started really diving into my faith more because I've always been a believer. But just growing up, and you kind of go, sometimes you in close, and then sometimes I was a little over here, I want to go out, I want to be in the clubs, looking for book, like the little pump in the club. Like that's the life. You just living that life for some time or whatever. But I found at that time I needed to really like focus, right? Right. And I came out of the pandemic feeling like, okay, I have a start. Now I know that was just a start to the journey that I was going to be on.
Yeah.
What I felt like at that time was that I came out just so much better.
Yeah.
And then, life opened back up again.
It did.
And then when the things started coming to you again, I was like, well, look, if you books sound good. It sound good. But I was like one toe out, one toe in.
Yeah.
And then life really happened, and I found myself being really rocked to where it eventually led, like it was my dad had passed away, and with grief, it comes in different forms, different stages.
Yes.
And at first I was just like angry and numb for a while, and then I felt sadness.
Okay.
And then going through that whole process and everything that was happening around that process and it was happening in my life, it just added. It was like pressure just piled up on top of each other. And then that was the first time that I actually felt like I was really like in a deep depression.
Yeah.
And it overcame me for a while. And then I was like, at one point I was just like, okay, Brandon, you got to bring yourself out of this. Like you got to shake back. And so what I picked up during the pandemic, I started applying that back to my life.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I also said that I don't ever want to get back there.
Same.
Anymore. So you got to keep this going, and you have to do the work because it is hard work.
It is.
It is hard work. And so I'm like, you have to do the work to really keep this at like consistent.
Yeah.
And really being obedient in your faith, like really sticking and standing on his word and being, because I feel like God always spoke to me. He always speaks to me, and I'll hear him clearly.
Yes.
But then sometimes I will be like, nah, but what I want to do sound better. That sound more fun. So let me go do that. And then you end up in a world of trouble.
Yeah.
So I had promised myself last year that I would be obedient to God every single time he speaks to me. And it ain't no going back.
Okay.
But I feel like I'm not all the way where I want to be. What I woke up this morning and thought about is that I want to create a routine, like how you have a routine and the things that you do. Your suitcase. I need to get a suitcase.
Yeah, listen, let's go.
It's like I have some of the things, but I need to put them in the actual suitcase.
Yeah,
and really practice all of these things so that overall my body and my mind can feel like it's all together. Because I don't feel like it's all together, like on the same page.
There's no unison. Yeah, I feel you. I understand. I feel
like I'm going towards it, but it ain't there all the way.
No, I feel you because I feel like I'm in the same place as well. Like, let me just say, I have not arrived by any means necessary. I am learning how to let my mind and my soul. So your soul is your mind, your will, and your emotion. So I'm trying to get the soul and the body, everybody to align at once. Right? And focusing on me and not everybody else.
Girl, this has been life-changing for me because that's what I had to do within this past year.
Okay.
Like, it's okay to choose yourself first. And it's okay to say no. It's okay to not explain why you're saying no.
Yeah.
It's okay to not show up for everybody at every single time that they ask you to be there.
Yeah.
Because if you're depleted, how you going to give to somebody else?
How are you going to pour out? I'm currently reading Balance by Pastor Torrey Roberts. And he said in the first chapter, balance isn't about giving parts of yourself to everyone else. It's about basically, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, you have to fill yourself up enough and know how you're going to delegate yourself, right? So we've been thinking that balance is linear. Balance is holistic. It's not just, and so being able to fill myself up and pour myself, but like you said, choosing me first, right? It's okay to say no. Yeah. It's okay that I don't have to show up, but you know where that comes from. That's a trauma response. When people have a hard time saying no, and then you overthink, well, what are they going to say? That's catastrophizing. Your mind gets to,
it used to be so hard to say no. Like what's going to happen? What's the worst that's going to happen?
And that's called catastrophizing. When we go to the worst, again, going back to those 13 cognitive distortions, there are, when you go to the very far end, when you think about the worst case scenario, that is catastrophizing. But it is because you were not taught healthy boundaries, right? And so in our youth, in our primary development, right, we have basic needs: love, safety, security, and belonging. And if something there isn't provided for growing up, then you all out of whack. But I'm right there with you. I'm trying to get everybody in sync, right? Everybody has got to be in sync.
On the same boat,
one path,
in one car.
So when we rolling our suitcase through life, we together.
We together. You ain't straggling back there in that airport.
You're not. And your wheel didn't break. Your wheel didn't just break.
How do you think that unforgiveness plays a role, like, on your body and your mind?
Ooh, okay. So going back to that book, The Body Keeps the Score. Unforgiveness holds its place, right? There was a study. Okay, so going to the body and the mind. There was a study I read about these people who were in like high, intense, incarcerated facilities. And because someone had either stolen their bike when they were younger, someone had, beat them up, or they were bullied, or they were molested, because they harbored unforgiveness so heavy. These were the people who were behind mass shootings, murders. And so it begins to play with your mind. Ghetto boys, your mind start playing tricks on you, right? Your mind is playing tricks on you. But not only that, in the spirit realm, you're opening an access to a portal. And all that demon, that spirit needs is a doorway.
It's all.
And then they start feeding, right? And they start feeding off on each other. And so that's what it does. Your mind gets to playing, you're offended, you're plotting, you're planning, you're doing all these things. But in terms of our bodies, blood pressure can be the cause of unforgiveness. Like, and I'm not saying that is the reason, but research has shown that people who go through forgiveness therapy, when they have held these ailments in their body, once they released it, healing was found. Yeah. And so it plays there. It goes deep. I didn't know it until recently.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense, because it's just like when you stress, it affects your body. Like when you're holding on to a whole bunch of things, you get knots, you be all out of whack, child. Yeah. All out of whack.
I don't know if you've ever heard about this, but there's a story of this woman. She was on an airplane, and someone, I think it was her father or something had happened. And she ended up writing a letter of forgiveness. I think something that had taken place. I'm paraphrasing. But when she stood up in her seat, her pants were looser. She had literally lost weight in the physical and the spiritual.
Wow.
So sometimes we think that we want to lose weight or we want to have all these things, but you got to check, why am I, okay, like I used to yo-yo diet a whole lot, but I realized that the reason why I struggled with my weight was tied to unforgiveness, or something that somebody said to me when I was 8 years old and when I was 17. You see what I'm saying?
I just had a conversation with my mom about this like a week ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I was telling her, she said something to me. I had to make her realize. I said, do you know that my entire life, you and my grandmother, which I love them both dearly, but they had to get this from somewhere too. I know my mom got this from my grandmother. My grandmother had to get it from somewhere. But it was always comments being made about my weight.
Yes.
Since I was a young girl.
Same.
And I'm the oldest of 4 of my mom's children. And all the rest of them and everybody else in my mom's family, besides my grandmother, tall and slim.
Okay.
And then there's me. And I'm shaped just like my grandmother was. Okay. She's short and, curvy. And, but at the same time, she would say something about my body all the time. Like, Brandon, it look like you've been eating too much, or, you need to, bind your stuff. Like right after I had a baby, I remember the day that I had my baby, she was like, you got to put this girdle on. And I know she meant well by it, but at the same time, it's like, I just had
a baby.
A baby. Who thinking about
Mm-hmm.
holding my stomach in?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know, but it's like that kind of stuff plays on you.
It
so
does.
When you get older, I've also had, my weight goes up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And like what I was explaining to my mom, like, it's not as easy for me to look like y'all. Like, it's not.
Right.
And I have noticed that, because I do a lot of self-reflection, and I have noticed that I have held on to things like that, because as soon as she goes to say anything about my weight, if it's good or bad, it just irritates me.
It triggers you.
It annoys me. And I'm just like right back there, like, just leave me out of it.
Right. No. Same, because I'm the
alone.
darkest of my immediate family. Right. And so like having that complex, right? You know, she's the dark one, or, you know, things would be said. Oh yeah. It's same in our family, you know. The women, and for me, it was my grandmother. And I had to pick up the phone one day and call my grandmother and tell her, I forgive you for, you know, spreading this rumor within our family or talking about us when we were little, and you would make these comments. Like, but again, she had to learn that from somewhere else. And I realize now, just based off conversations I've had, my great grandmother was like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a generational thing. Yeah. But we have to detach ourselves from generational patterns and forgive ourselves and be like, I'm not gonna attach to what these folks had. Yeah. So yeah, no.
Girl, it's so to start there, when I did talk to my mama about it, she was like, Brent, I had no idea that you even felt that way, that you thought these things, that and she was like, you know, she apologized and said that she was sorry, but you know, a lot of times if I was still that person that I was in the past that would just hold on to things and not open up and talk about it, then I would continue to allow myself to get triggered and in my head, you know, beat up about something that bothers me, but you know, working through it.
Girl,
and actually,
we are working through it.
Yes.
And now that I've slimmed down, because I've had to change my diet for health reasons, but not only that, I know what they have in our bloodline. I don't want to be dealing with this stuff in my body. But I've even had people on the flip side say now, so before it was, you know, you were chunky and all of these, but now that I've lost weight, oh, you're too skinny. No, I'm not too skinny. I'm literally actually at my ideal weight, at my BMI, and this is the healthiest I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable.
I feel why they be so bold.
And who... Thank you.
Right. But I'm doing, this is for me.
Right. Now, it is not about you.
And if I feel good,
right,
leave me alone.
Right.
Mind your business. That pays you.
Hello.
Listen. Stay out of mine. That's how I be feeling, child.
That's it. You're right.
But no, I think this was a good topic to talk about.
Thank you for having
me. And we can go on again, child. We can have a whole nother episode and continue to talk about this. I feel like whatever you're selling, I'm buying it.
Oh, Bree.
For real.
Well, I'm currently in the process of writing a devotional for Christian millennials so that we can walk through a 40-day process. But I do have, and if anyone wants to ever if you want to go to the website, you can go to RameshaNicole.com and you can get my self-forgiveness affirmation action card. So it literally walks you through a statement that you say, today I choose, because forgiveness is a choice.
Yes.
I choose to forgive myself, and it says other things, and then it takes you through different questions of who you need to forgive outside of yourself and how it impacted you. So if you want that, just head over to IamRameshaNicole.com and you'll see it on the website. But it's my affirmation card.
I feel like when I was listening to you talk, I was like, I need to come lay on your couch. Like if you were a therapist, I'm like, you sound like you know how to help facilitate this health up in my mind. I'm like, I need to.
Well, come on, I
need some of those resources for real. So we're gonna talk after we finish this.
It's been a lot of work though, Bree. Let me tell you, like I told you, I had to stop running. And like my old friend, he was like, "You gonna stop lying? Yeah. What you gonna do?" And you need people like that in your life. Like it hurt when he said it, because I was like, "What you mean I'm lying to myself? What you mean I need to forgive myself?" But I needed that. Yeah. Right? And so sometimes we don't think we need those people, but we do.
We do need those people.
And that's what the podcast is going to be about. Season 1 is currently in reboot. I'm going to be walking y'all all through my self-forgiveness journey. Okay. So I'm going to be crying on there, but, we got to tell the truth.
Yeah, because also, too, when you share your story, you never know how many people it can impact. Because there's so many people that could be in that same place that you are in, and thinking that they're alone though.
And that's what I thought.
Because that's where the self-doubt comes from, and you not forgiving yourself because you thinking it's just you, and the pressure just feels so strong. Lord, I thank you that I'm not there no more.
Yes,
because that's a crazy place to be in. Because like you said, the mind start playing tricks on you. Speaking of that, have you seen Black Mirror?
No, what's that?
It's a show on Netflix. So each episode is individual of each other. Like, you don't have to watch it like episode 1 first. You can start at 5 if you want to.
Okay.
But each episode focuses on something that could happen, like technology based or something that can happen. There's one particular episode that you just made me think about. It was an episode. It was like some numbers in Demon, and during this episode, a girl was she was a nice girl, like sweet girl, like, like all American girl, but she wasn't American though. But nice little sweet, tie in the bow, everything just perfect, right? But she was working at a department store, and she had a coworker that she had a thought of like hitting her head into a cabinet or something, because she just didn't like the girl. The girl would mess with her all the time.
Okay.
And I guess that one negative thought that she had made her be open and vulnerable to her connecting with a demon. And he got in her mind and convinced her that these people needed to be killed. So you go kill this person.
You know what it's called in the realm of the spirit? It's Leviathan. Go read Job 42.
Okay.
It's the dragon. It's the dragon demon.
And I was like, wow, it was enlightening to see. I'm like, that's crazy how you can go from thinking that you are this polished person, you mean well with others, and then just if you open yourself up to just negativity, and like you said, it's just like a little hallway for the devil to come in and start making your mind think that this is where you need to be, because he made it seem like it was so beautiful over here. Like, if you just come do the things that I'm telling you to do.
Kind of like Jesus when Jesus was tempted in the wilderness.
Yeah. And it's like, wow, it was mind-blowing to just see that on this episode. I was like, wow.
I'm gonna have to go watch this.
Yes. Before we get out of here, I just want to ask you one question. Who's your inspiration right now?
My inspiration, the people that inspire me to be my very best version of myself right now, are my niece and my nephew.
Aww.
My babies and my future children. Because it's all about making sure that the next generation doesn't have to deal with what we had to deal with.
Yes.
So they inspire me in terms of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Now, in this space, I would have to say my coaches and people who have podcasts that are like making great brand impact, like Anthony O'Neill and Patrice Washington. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Bree.
Yes, thank you for giving me this topic, because this is so important to talk about, for real. And like I said at the beginning, I didn't know that this was Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, but now I'm aware.
Yes, and October 7th is National Happiness and Forgiveness Day. So that's October 7th. So yeah, it's a big thing within the country. So yeah.
Okay, so you can teach me some things.
Yes.
Girl, no problem. Thank you so much for coming. Do you want to plug anything else before we get out of here?
Just be sure to follow me over on YouTube at I am Ramesha Nicole, as well as on Instagram, I am.Ramesha Nicole, and the website is IamRameshaNicole.com.
Okay, and I'll make sure that I put all your stuff down below in the description box, so y'all can just go ahead and go right to where you need to find her and all of this good insight.
Thank you, Bree.
You inspire me.
Thank you. You inspire me too, because I love this set.
Thank you, girl. I want to thank you guys for tuning in every week. Every Monday, 7 a.m. Catch us on all your streaming platforms. Thank you so much for being consistent and watching these episodes and giving me your feedback. I really appreciate it. And until next time, we out. Bye, y'all.
Bye.